I'm just going to put this out here as like my option TBR. Like, some of these books are going to get read, not all of them. And when you see just how many it is, you'll know. So let's talk about the challenges. They're not really in any kind of order, but I'm going to talk about them in the order that they gave us in the challenge video. And number 1 is birthstone. So I was born in February, and so my birthstone is amethyst. So my purple shirt on. So I had to look for a cover that was purple. You probably could find like green amethyst and other things like that, but amethyst typically is most represented by a dark purple to lavender purple stone. I've decided for the first challenge to combine it with the 4th challenge, which is the first book you touch. And, you know, if that is done, then I may read another purple book to make up for the fact that I've, like, cheated. But a lot of the books that I've picked can work for multiple challenges because, again, I learned from last year. I really want to try to get as many done in as, like, few books as possible, and then I can just read for fun for the additional ones. So let me walk you through the purple books that I have that just purely came from my TBR shelf and explain to you how I'm going to work the 4th challenge, which is the first book you touch. So I have 8 books that could potentially be what fits for this challenge. Some of these I'm more excited about than others. Some of these will be a lot harder than others. So let's just go from the top. We have 1984 by George Orwell. I know it looks mostly like blue from here, but there is purple in the background. I've been meaning to read that. We have The Shining by Stephen King, which I actually started last year. So I'm kind of hoping this one gets picked because I would love to finish it finally. And I'm going to start from where I stopped. Like, I love myself too much to make myself restart this book, especially when nothing has really happened yet. It's just world building. The next one is Tamora Pierce's Bloodhound. This is the 2nd book in a trilogy. I really like the first one. It's just called, I think, is it Terrier or is that the 3rd one? But the character's name is Becca Cooper, and my sister is named Rebecca, and she spells her Becca like that, so that's why I picked it up. But it's actually really compelling, but it's been like 8 years since I've read the first one. So unless this thing sets me up really well at the very beginning, I'm going to be very confused. And I don't know if I want to read like a fantasy novel for the reading rush. So if that one gets picked, it'll be okay. But I'm kind of hoping it doesn't. The next book is this one. It's the Midnight Folk that I got for my birthday from Gina. The Folio Society edition. It's really pretty. I don't know anything about it, but the box it's in and the book itself is purple. So it has to be included because I'm not a cheater. The next book is Laura Marks Fitzgerald's The Gallery. This book is gorgeous. And it's this nice like blue to purple gradient. Don't know anything about it besides I think it's like in the 1920s and like a mystery kind of thing. I think I mentioned it in a video before about 1920s books. If that one gets picked, it probably actually won't be too bad. I bet that's a quick read because it's a YA and it looks like it's pretty large writing. So that's always a plus for my blind ass. The next book is Kirsten White's And I Darken, which is the first book in, I guess, this trilogy. I think it's called the And I Darken series. But it is purple and has purple flowers on it, and I have the whole trilogy, so I might as well go ahead and start it at some point. I like Kirsten White's writing in The Guinevere Deception, so maybe I'll like this one. We'll see. The next one feels like it might be cheating because the spine is purple. It's The Kingdom. The front doesn't have a lot of purple on it, but the spine is purple, and this is a recent book that I really want to get around to reading. I mean, you know, maybe. That'll count, and even if it doesn't count for purple, and I pick it for purple, and I read another purple thing later, it has the word "the" in the very beginning, and that is another challenge we haven't talked about yet. But anyway, the last purple book is the one I'm least excited to pick. I will probably cry if I get this one, and it is Stephen King's Under the Dome. This is a purple book. Look how big it is. Why does he do this to me? I mean, I'm going to love to read it. Everyone I know who has read it, like, loves the book, but I can't read that in a week. Even if that's the only thing I'm reading, I'm not finishing that in a week. So I'm putting it in there because I'm not a cheater, but I do reserve the right to change the book about halfway through the week if I realize that that is not happening. So the next challenge is read a book with the word "the" in the title, because it's supposed to make you realize how few books actually have "the," how many books start with just like a verb or a noun. So I have 2 for this, and one of them could probably also work for some of the other challenges. It's a buddy read, and one of them is my best friend's favorite book, and it is The Catcher in the Rye. Never read this. Feels like something I should read as a pre-English teacher, since this is still taught in schools. And it's relatively small. I can probably finish that in a week. And the other is The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. It's got some purple in the cover, but I'm not putting it in with my purple books necessarily, because, one, I've got too many options in that already, but also because it does have the gradient. It doesn't have a pure purple spine, and I'd rather have it for the. But this is the buddy read that Gina may also be reading. The next challenge is read a book that they based a movie on. So it's kind of like last year you were supposed to read a book and watch the movie. Timing wise, that's just not really realistic if you're also trying to read 7 books and you maybe have a job. Like I have 2 jobs right now. Thank God they're both working from home. I mean, knock on wood, I'm very blessed to be able to be working right now, but I am still working. So I don't necessarily have full free days to be doing stuff. And so I don't have time to watch a movie either. The book I've chosen, I just happened to find at a thrift store, and I didn't even realize till recently that this book was the inspiration for this movie. It's very short. It is I Know What You Did Last Summer. Are you surprised? I am. I had no idea this was a book first, but apparently it is. And it is very, very short, very large, wide writing. So this shouldn't be a problem. This will probably be high on my list of things to knock out. Kind of like last year I read Grendel in a day and Inherit the Wind in a day. This is going to be a day read, I can tell. So we've already talked about the 4th challenge earlier, which is The First Book You Touch. Again, I'm going to film that later. I'll either put it in here as I'm mentioning it, or I will put it at the very end of the video, but I'm going to do a thing to pick that book. And it should be interesting if I can figure out how to film it. But let's just get to the next challenge. So the next challenge is to read outside. There was a lot of pushback for this one because we aren't really allowed to go outside right now. I am very lucky, and I am very aware of the privilege that I have where I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere. So outside for me is very, very possible. I'm also lucky in that last year we were able to budget and plan ahead and buy one of those pop-up pools and put it up for this year at my dad's house out in the country. So I'm going to be near nobody outside. And so my goal is to read this next book fully at the pool. Just in a chair or hammock at the pool, on my Kindle, because it's slightly waterproof and so it's a little bit safer and the glare isn't as bad. So for this one, I didn't know which Kindle book I was going to pick until Gina sent me a gift of her other favorite book earlier this week, and it is Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. It's apparently heart-wrenching. I don't know a lot about it. I've been trying to avoid it because I knew eventually I was going to read it. But I look forward to bringing this with me for a couple days to hang out at the pool and eat blueberries and read. I mean, I think that'll be great. The next challenge is read from a genre you want to read more from, but I've also seen it phrased as your least read genre. I like least read genre more than genre you wish you read more of, because I don't wish I read more of this. If I wanted to read more of it, I would read it. I'm not like one of those folks who's like, well, I wish I could read more fantasy, but I just can't get into it. I don't know where to start. Or oh, I don't know where to start with horror. I know where to start with these. I just don't like this genre. And that genre is nonfiction and memoirs. Whose favorite genre is nonfiction and memoirs? My brain doesn't do it. I'll read a page for 30 minutes and still not retain any information on it. My second choice for this would be graphic novels, and that is one that I wish I read more of, but graphic novels are very expensive. And you cannot find them in thrift stores around here. You cannot find them in libraries around here. So if I don't get them really, really cheap or get them given as a gift, I'm not going to be reading a graphic novel. But I picked out 3 memoir-ish books, memoir-ish nonfiction books that I can read for this challenge, and it'll just be kind of, again, a feeling. I'll wake up and know which one I want to read. The first one is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doughty. Doughty, right? Yeah, I watch her YouTube channel. You think I'd know. But, like, this is Ask a Mortician on YouTube. I think this is her first book. I've been meaning to read it because I really think all of her books would be rather interesting. So this one is about her working, like, at a funeral home and, like, with crematories and stuff. And I just really think that'd be fascinating because I love listening to her talk and her videos. So I may actually like the material in this book. But we'll see. This is like the number one on my list to read. The second one is a book I got for Christmas from my husband, and it is a signed edition. I just had to put that out there because, like, I just love that he cared enough to do that. But it is The Actor's Life, a survival guide by Jenna Fisher, who is from The Office. As, like, an actress and a reader, this is kind of like a nice intersection of my two worlds there. So this is second on my list, again, because it's kind of short, and I'm sure it'll be interesting. Last on this list is one that I got from Gina from a thrift store, and it is signed. And it has the best, like, behind the jacket art I've ever seen. I can't wait to maybe frame it at some point. And it is As You Wish by Carrie. I'm not going to pronounce his last name, but I love The Princess Bride. It's actually, again, maybe besides Wicked, like, my favorite book, like, of all time. And it's one of those books that's just as good as its movie. Like, both of them are, like, equally important to my life. But this is kind of his memoir about making The Princess Bride. It's less about, like, him and us as a whole and more about the experience of making that movie and the friendships and, like, things like that. And I'm fascinated by that. I think that, again, it's pretty small. So maybe it would be pretty fun. And it's, like, third on my list. That doesn't mean I'm, like, not looking forward to reading it. But this is a good challenge to make myself read these books that I've wanted to read but just don't pick up for fun. I did find 4 options on my TBR shelves that are of varying degrees of length and take place in different places. That seems redundant. So let's look at them. The first is The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie by Muriel Spark, and this takes place, I think, in Britain. It is really short, but the writing is, like, thick. So it might be harder than it looks, even though it's small. But this also inspired a movie, so it can work for that challenge. The next book is Miranda in Milan by Catherine Duckett, and this takes place, I guess, in Naples, I think is where it says. And it's like an unofficial sequel to Shakespeare's The Tempest, and it apparently is LGBTQ plus friendly. Don't know a lot about that, but it's about Miranda, the daughter of Prospero in The Tempest, and kind of, I guess, her awakening to the world because she had never known anybody but her father and Caliban on their island, and now she's experiencing humanity. So this one might be interesting, and it would help me finish out some parts of my Shakespeare series, and it's relatively small. The next book is by John Marsden, and it is Tomorrow When the War Began, and it is like a... If you've ever seen Red Dawn, it's Red Dawn in Australia. The last book on this list is by an author whose name I will not pronounce, and it is The Master and Margarita. You can look at that name, and you can try to pronounce it if you want to. Guess where this takes place at? Guess. If you guessed Russia, you're right. This, I think, involves the devil and a big talking black cat. So I'm already intrigued. So that has been my TBR. I will, again, either have put the touch part where that belongs, or I will put it now at the very end of the video, but I have to wait for my husband to come home because he is going to help me with that. It's always a fun time in the community to see how creative people can be with, like, their Instagrams and their videos and stuff, and it just feels like we're all along for this big ride. And I mean, I'm going to start classes back in like 3 weeks, so anything to distract me from that would be nice. Alright, this is for challenge 4 for the first book you touch, and challenge 1, which is Birthstone. It's my purple colors. You've already seen the books. This is my husband Stephen, who's going to help me. I'm going to put on a blindfold, and the fun's going to start. Okay. Okay, I can't see anything, so just tell me when.
Okay. So I go?
Yep.
Okay.
Take as much time as you want. Please be nice to me. You have to slam them down so hard. You're enjoying this too much. I'm going to speed it up.
Own it. Go.
Oh my god. I'm so nervous. Okay. Oh shit. What was that? I just touched one. Like my fingertip touched one. Jesus, oh my god. It's The Shining. Hell yeah.